And one of the things I wanted to um, do was build a little playlist of topics of things that I've used or that I've done over the last few years have helped me. I'm not always necessarily doing them still or regularly, but something that certainly helped me. And one of those was one of the first things I started was journaling, and it was something that I'd never ever considered prior to being in the position I was in, and it was quite overwhelming initially as well, because the thought of sitting down and writing for hours or writing pages of stuff, it was like, oh my god, it's a bit overwhelming. But I got onto it through I listened to a lot. I was consuming a lot of podcasts, a lot of self-help stuff, and one of the ones that I really listened to was a guy called Ryan Holiday, and he talks a lot about stoicism. And one of the books he talks about a lot is by a guy, Marcus Aurelius, his Meditations, and that is his journal. And this is like the journal of a Roman emperor from 2,000 years ago. And he talks a lot about the stuff that's in there. And it's funny when me just doing what I do, being a pleb, have the same issues as one of the most powerful men in history. And it was bonkers, really. And I thought, it got me thinking about the stuff that he was talking about in there. And, his little things he talks about laying in bed and when it's comfy and warm. And is this what we've been put on the earth to do? And it's like, no, we're here to do the work. So, we all do that. We lay in bed, we go, oh, it's comfy, I'm not getting out of bed, so on and so forth. So I bought the book and I read the book, and it really got me thinking about the idea of putting down your thoughts on a page and getting the thoughts out of your head, I think, sometimes as well, because we all have, when we have issues or concerns, and they rattle around in our brain. And I went to one of my groups this week, and one of the guys was saying, he's having trouble sleeping, and 3 o'clock in the morning he's waking up and his brain's going and I tried like journaling on a device or whatever, and in the end I bought a book, just like a little A5 book, and I buy a new one every year, and I do it. And I was religiously journaling every day, and sometimes it might be 3 or 4 lines, sometimes it might be 2 pages, and it helped me massively just get a lot of stuff out of my head onto the page. And the process of doing that was I found it very cathartic, and it sort of almost reminded me, if you've ever seen Harry Potter, where Dumbledore, he has his wand and he takes the memories out of his head and he puts them in a bowl. It felt very much like a version of that. These things that were going through my head, and the process of thinking about how to write stuff out on a page also enabled me to think about the structure of what I was writing and then process those thoughts better, if that really makes sense. But it did make a huge difference. Now, I don't do it regularly anymore. I think sometimes some of the stuff that I wanted to journal about, I would be thinking about during the day, and by the end of the day it had gone past, and I wasn't always writing stuff down. So that's why I started doing this channel a little bit, was when those thoughts are coming to me, I might do a little voice note on it, note application, and then I'll do a little video on it. It's just another sort of, I suppose, evolution of the journaling. Now, sometimes I still do it. I picked the book up the other day, and it's been a couple of months since I journaled last. But you can do it in any way you like. I mean, Ryan Holiday, he has a number of journals, because why not? He has, I think it's a 1 line a day journal. So it literally is just like you write 1 line a day, and it can be anything. And what I did find really interesting as well was going back and rereading some of those journals. It was really interesting, especially early on. When I keep saying home today. I need to think about that. Cut that down. So going back and rereading some of those journals was really enlightening for me as well. Especially early on when my marriage had fallen apart, but I was still working in my previous job. I connected with somebody at work, and I really felt that we had sort of a connection there. And I used to write a lot in the journal about this, and it's interesting going back and reading that now. I was a completely different person. I would never act the way now that I acted then. It was I could see a very sort of like a dependency that I was seeking that dependency that I'd lost from my ex-wife, and I was seeking that in somebody else. But it's really, really interesting looking back at that. So yeah, it was a really, really good tool. And I know the group that I go to, a few of the guys have been talking about starting journaling and stuff. So I think if you have got one of those really active brains where you're constantly trying to play things out in your head, and you're struggling to work out certain thoughts or whatever, try writing it down. And there's no, the joy of it is there's no obligation to show it to anybody. It's purely for you. And I've kept those journals and I reread them. But you might get to the end of the year and go, I'm going to make a ritual of burning them or some whatever it might be. But I just it was one of those things that it really did help. And am I doing it now regularly? No. Would it help me still? I think so. But I don't always feel the need to do it. And I think that's an interesting point as well. Before I did it, I didn't realize how much it would make a difference. But now I can look at it and say, actually, I think the things that it helped me with, I found other ways of coping with those issues, and thinking about things in a different way, rather than retreading things. But I certainly think sometimes it's useful to review the day or review your week, and maybe if you had an interaction with somebody, actually review that interaction. And I've done that before. I've written that down. Especially when me and my ex-wife were first separated and we were struggling to communicate. Still, is when I had certain interactions with her, I would certainly write down about how that interaction went and how I felt that I could have done things differently. So yeah, really worthwhile tool. Again, I'm going to do some more of these videos about these little things that I've done over the years. Therapies in there, meditations in there. Just I'm sat by the beach now, but just finding somewhere where it's natural and you can connect with nature. I think that's something as well. So I'll do a few more of these. Not going to be super long. Yeah, so I'll be interested to see what you use. What kind of tools, if you've done journaling, did it help? Did it not? What do you feel you got out of it? As ever, thanks for spending a bit of time with me, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.